Keith, it's been said that the Rolling Stones gave black music back to the Americans. How do you feel these black musicians feel about the Stones?
I don't know. Probably as many different reactions from them as from anybody else. I mean, I know people like Muddy Waters, etc., are really grateful, you know, for radio. I mean, we did very little. I mean, all we said was that we dug Muddy Waters, you know. I mean, which happened to have a lot of an effect for him, you know, in his own life. I mean, it means more bread for him because he got onto the white college circuit and things which wouldn't have happened and things like that. But we weren't the only ones to do that. I mean, every English band in the 60s that went to America, you know, came there and said, well, you know, we got our music from black records, you know. I mean, I guess American kids at that time, they wouldn't even know if somebody they were listening to was a black record or not, you know, because that was the era of record covers, you know, with some white chick on it or something, you know, and you wouldn't show the guy that was actually playing in case it affected record sales, you know.
Yeah. As far as this goes, what were the first black musicians that turned you on to black music?
Chuck Berry, Little Richard. I guess Little Richard was the first one I heard that really knocked me out. And after that I heard Chuck Berry, and later Bo Diddley, Muddy Waters, Jimmy Reed, Slim Harpo. You know, the list gets endless, but I guess the more you got into black music, the more you followed it back to where it come from, you know, and so eventually you were listening to Robert Johnson and Blind Lemon Jefferson, etc., and everybody goes through the blues stage, you know, the 20s and the 30s and all that stuff.
Yeah, frequently reported sort of statement about the Stones is that the songs you play are not really sentimental songs, they're very hard. Would this be because of the roots you've drawn on?
Probably. I don't see a lot to be sentimental about. I think sentimentalism is probably a lucrative road to travel for Sir Vera Lynn or somebody, you know, but it's not really part of my life. I don't get sentimental about things, you know, because I find that kind of fogs up. It doesn't lead to clarity of thought or anything.
Would you say that you know, a vital element in the Stones' music is its clarity in the images it presents?
Oh, I don't know. I just hope it isn't too sentimental. You know, I hate to get sentimental about too many things. You know.
Would you have a fairly sort of dim view of the world?
Dim view? No, I have a fairly bright view of the world. I don't know if the world's got a very bright view of itself. You know, I mean, that's their problem.
Right. John Lennon was once reported as saying that the Stones were largely imitated the Beatles in the sense that when the Beatles did something, a couple of months later, out was a Stones album, you know, of a similar sort of tack. How valid do you think a statement like that is?
I think John's just a little bitter, you know, always has been, and he could never take another band coming up and doing things better than him, maybe, or, you know, some things, you know, I mean, they can do things, or they could do when they were together, let's put it like that, and they could sing, and they could do things better than we could, and you know, there's other things that we can do better than they can. John Lennon is probably past his golden period, you know, unless he does something soon. I don't think anybody's going to take much notice of what John Lennon says or does, you know, because musically he hasn't turned out anything approaching what he was doing 6 or 7 years ago with the Beatles. You know, none of them are, you know.
Not even McCartney.
Not even McCartney. No.
We recently had a tour here by Slade, and one of the things that they said and was said about them is that they were playing to an audience that really hadn't heard the Beatles or the Rolling Stones, especially not in their early days. Do you find that with the audiences you're playing to now, are they younger audiences? Are they the same sort of audience that a band like Slade would get, or are they the same people again and again?
Not exactly the same people, no. There's bound to be a crossover, obviously. I can't talk really about Australia, really, because I mean I've only done 2 shows here in the last 7 years, and you know, but I mean as far as America's concerned and Europe, etc., I find that we've got a lot of people coming that saw us when they were teeny boppers, etc., you know, and they aren't anymore, but they still come and see us. And you get a lot of young kids that have never seen us before, you know. So I mean, we probably get half a Slade audience and half that they wouldn't get near anyway, you know. I mean, it takes a long time to build up an audience like that, you know.
Mm. You formed your own record company, and this seems to be in line with the general trend of bands to take more and more control over their own music. Will the record company be releasing something like the Rock and Roll Circus that you...
Well, it could do, yeah. There's problems with the Rock and Roll Circus were very minor, and I mean, actually it's a film, you know. I mean, the only thing we could do is put out the soundtrack to it sometime.
Do you think
I mean, the whole thing about the Rock and Roll Circus has changed. At the time that we did it, it was very new. It was presenting mostly besides ourselves and the sort of band we got together with Eric Clapton and Van and myself and Mitch Mitchell, you know. We had Jethro Tull and Taj Mahal, who at the time were virtually unknown, you know, they were just breaking and just becoming known. I mean, now, if we put it out, it's more of a sort of historical nostalgia trip, you know, because we would have to think about it in a different way and maybe have to cut the movie again, things, you know.
As far as nostalgia goes generally, a lot of people are onto a nostalgia trip. Do you think that that this is a sign that the mainstream of rock is really weak and just living off itself, or is there anything sort of vital in the rock scene as a whole?
Well, it's bigger than ever, you know. I don't think there's anything wrong in looking back so far, because a lot of the best records were made at the beginning, and there's nothing wrong with listening to things that are vital and etc. If it does the same for you, you know. It's big business, and it's hard to say if... I mean, I get the feeling that a lot of bands and a lot of kids these days, you know, they're sort of up there on that stage before they've really gotten it together and paid their dues, or whatever you want to call it, you know. I don't think they've quite had long enough to develop before they're sort of stuck up there and given a record contract, and you know, things are going to work out, you know, they'll get it together, you know.
Yeah, just back to the Rock and Roll Circus briefly, why was it that it was never released?
Oh, it's hard to remember, right? I think a few contract problems and things, and also the fact that it was shot all within 24 hours. There's some problems with the film itself, you know, technical problems and things, which I think have been ironed out eventually, but it's now a matter of us getting it together, really, and sort of getting a new print and presenting it to people. It's just a matter of having a bit of time, you know, and getting it together.
Would you like to do it?
Sure. You know, I mean, it's something that we did, and it's there. There's no reason why it shouldn't come out, you know.
Yeah. Around the period of their Satanic Majesties now, a lot of people attached very satanic images to the Stones. Don McLean was one. Was this something that you were conscious of, and it was a good selling thing, or was there some sort of validity in it? You were reported to have visited some magician in Rio at one period.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what's a joke?